Camilla has been raising her son alone for 3 years now. The boy's father left her for a younger woman. After her son Dylan was born, the woman noticed that her husband had lost interest in her. Camilla completely immersed herself in caring for her son. She completely forgot that her husband also needed attention. Camilla and Richard were not officially married. Somehow it didn't come to that. Camilla has been waiting for a proposal from a man for many years, but he never proposed. Camilla has long gotten used to Richard being constantly late from work and didn't hurry back home. After their son was born, she did not have time to make the relationship work out, and it gradually faded away. So when Dylan was 3 years old, her husband announced that he was leaving her for another woman. Camilla didn't get emotional. She had been waiting for this for a long time. She expected her husband to return soon because they had a son, but the man completely forgot about the child and never even helped them. Camilla and Dylan's life was pretty hard. They never had enough money. The woman turned to her ex-husband several times, hoping that he would finally start paying alimony or just help her. Without a trial, Richard did not want to listen to her at all. He had a different life. He soon married his young mistress, and they had a daughter. At that moment, Camilla realized that there was nothing more to be expected from him and tried to forget him. It was a very difficult time. She couldn't understand how he could do this to her. Over time, the pain subsided, and Camilla decided that she was going to raise her son alone. After her maternity leave, Camilla went back to work. She was a school teacher. The salary was very low, but enough to live on. She couldn't afford expensive purchases. Even buying sneakers for her beloved son was difficult. She had long gotten used to poverty, but she didn't want her son to notice it. It hurt her to know that Richard abandoned his child for a girl he knew so little about. Camilla often thought about where she could find money, but unfortunately, she couldn't do any side hustle. After all, little Dylan could stay in kindergarten only until 5 in the evening, and after that, she had to pick him up. Every time she picked him up from kindergarten, they went to the store and bought something sweet. He told her about his day in the garden, what they ate, and what they did. She listened to these stories. It took them about 20 minutes to walk from kindergarten to their house.
Mom, Charles bought a real basketball with him. It was so big and tough.
You want a ball like that too, right?
No, Mom. I dream of becoming a football player. Not everyone can be a basketball player like Charles.
It's good that you have a dream. You need to see if there is a football camp somewhere near our house.
Do you want me to play football?
The boy was surprised.
Why not? My mother used to say that you should try everything in your life.
Mom, what did you want to be when you were little?
I wanted to become an actress, but my mom didn't approve. She didn't let me go to the theater club. Over the years, all my dreams have faded. I no longer had anything to believe in and nothing to dream about. So let's make your dream come true.
The boy looked at his mother with affection. He saw a mix of kindness and boundless tenderness in her. He didn't remember his father at all. After all, he left when he was only 3 years old. Camilla kept her promise and enrolled her son in the football group. Now, 2 days a week, the boy was doing what he loved. Dylan grew up really fast. He started going to school. He also played football. He really liked it. The coach often said that the boy had a great future. But Camilla didn't even have money for his uniform and for competitions. The boy believed that he would participate and did his best during training. "Mom, the competition will be in the capital. If our team wins, then some children will get into the children's team. It is very important for me."
I know, son.
She spent days thinking about where to get money for his uniform. And besides, they needed money for the trip to the capital. She never told her son that she didn't have the money to buy him a uniform. The boy's life changed when Mervin's mother came to one of the training sessions. Mervin was his best friend. His mom noticed that all the boys already wore uniforms, except for Dylan. She looked at the boy and thought about something, and then told him, "Where's your uniform, sweetheart?" "My mom hasn't bought it for me yet, and I don't know if she will buy it at all."
How's that? The competition's coming soon. You can't let the team down like that. You were the best striker. I saw you play. And Mervin talks about you so much.
We have a little difficulty with money. Mom thinks I don't know, but I do. I see everything perfectly. I'm not little anymore," he said seriously. The woman looked at the boy and then abruptly left. The training has begun. Dylan scored goals against opponents without any problems. By the end of the training, she was back. She had a small package in her hands. She handed the package to Dylan.
This is a small gift for you, for the best striker in my son's team.
What is it? The boy asked in surprise.
Open the package and look. Hope I got the size right.
He opened the package, and it had a new football uniform inside it. Dylan was very happy. Now he knew for sure that he would go to the competition. In the evening, Dylan told his mother that Mrs. Harrell had given him a football uniform.
Son, I told you not to take anything from strangers.
It was Mervin's mother. I saw her many times.
Now, you will definitely go to the competitions.
Camilla smiled. She knew how important it was for her son. At the next training session, Camilla approached Mervin's mother. She was very grateful to her for buying the uniform for her son. The woman only smiled at her and then praised her son. It was very important for his mother. Preparations for the competition have begun. Dylan went to training 3 or 4 times a week. He was very tired, but he liked getting tired like that. Camilla got paid. This time, she decided to spend all the money on her son's trip to the capital. She had no idea how she would live on. The competition was scheduled for Monday. Camilla and Dylan went to the capital on Sunday. Dylan has never been in such a big city. Camilla wanted to show her son this beautiful city because she lived there during her student years. The city turned out to be very big and bright. They walked around the center for a long time and spent the night at the hotel. And then came the most important day in Dylan's life. He woke up very early that day. He was looking forward to the upcoming game. He couldn't sleep all night. Anxiety took over him. He was very nervous that the team might lose because of him. He was worried that something might go wrong and it would be his fault. He shared his worries with his mother. "Mom, I'm scared. What if we lose? What will happen then?"
Son, for me, you will always be a winner no matter what.
Okay, I'll try to impress everyone. After all, if they take me to the national team, we will become rich and you will no longer have to count the pennies.
But we're okay as we are.
Mom, I'm not little anymore, and I can see everything perfectly. It's hard for you to do it alone. We cut back on everything. Camilla looked at the boy with sadness. She didn't even notice when he had grown so much. They got up and went to the stadium. A team from a small town played against them. Every boy dreamed of being on the team. At the appointed time, the stand got filled with people. It was very noisy and it was impossible to concentrate at all. Dylan looked for his mother and finally calmed down. The game had began. People shouted and rejoiced at every goal, no matter which team scored. The opposing team was ahead of them so far. Dylan was very nervous. You could see it. Camilla clenched her fist and waited for him to show himself. After all, the coach was also waiting for him to impress everyone. The game ended. Dylan's team won 4-3. They were so happy. Camilla hugged her son and tears fell from her eyes. She never thought that her son would be so seriously interested in football. The teams were silent. Everyone was waiting for the results. Who will be invited to the team? A representative of the national team walked to the field and started speaking. He spoke for a very long time and wished everyone to achieve a lot in this sport, and most importantly, to never quit football. And then he began to list the people who would be on the team. The stadium went dead silent. Every child wanted to hear their name. The representative slowly read the names. George Black, Ethan Jenkins, Roger Davis. Camilla looked at Dylan and saw how with each name his face changed and his eyes grew dim. Camilla clenched her fist in anticipation of the last name. To be honest, she had no idea what it meant to be on the national team, but she understood that it was very important for her son. And the last boy who will continue his career in our team is Dylan Mitchell. Camilla saw her son's face change. He obviously didn't expect to hear that. Camilla stood up and ran towards him. They hugged and Dylan burst into tears. He wept with joy, but his friend Mervin unfortunately was not accepted to the team. He was upset, but not by much. He realized long ago that football was not his cup of tea. From that day on, the Mitchell's life has changed a lot. The boy signed a contract with the national team and they moved to the capital. Now Camilla was teaching at a metropolitan school. She would never have moved to this huge city if not for her beloved son, who turned out to be very driven with purpose. The guy went to a sports school and played football. He often went to competitions, leaving the woman alone. She got used to this life, but often felt sad. At the new school, she had no girlfriends, just like where she worked before. The woman was returning home after work, and it was so lonely and sad, especially when her son was at competitions, and they could last for weeks. The woman saw that her son was already quite big, and he had his own different life, not at all like hers. One day, Camilla was returning home. It was getting dark, but she was in no hurry because her son was away. Another competition as always. She went to the store, bought a carton of milk, and was walking toward the house. A young man was walking towards her, and then, with a slight movement of his hand, pulled off the bag from her shoulder and ran. There was a man walking behind Camilla. He reacted quickly. The woman didn't even get scared. The stranger knocked the robber to the ground. He pressed him to the ground, snatched the bag from his hands, and handed it to Camilla. "Boy, why are you doing this?" he asked the robber menacingly. "Back off! Let me go!" "I will after I call the police."
Thank you. No need for police. Let him go. I don't want to have to deal with the police,
begged the frightened Camilla. "Well, whatever you say." He let go of the guy and he rushed away. The stranger stood up and looked at Camilla. "Calm down. Everything turned out okay. And you're trembling all over. Come on, let's go and sit in a cafe. You need to calm down."
Okay, let's go. I'm a little nervous,
the woman said. They walked into a cafe. It was warm and cozy there. Finally, under the light of the lamps, Camilla was able to see the man clearly. He was about 45 years old and had an athletic build and beautiful features. He proposed that they sat at a table by the window. Oddly enough, Camilla would also always choose such tables. She loved sitting where you could watch what was happening on the street. The man ordered black coffee without sugar. Camilla ordered tea and a sweet cake. When she was worried, she really craved sweets. "I think it's time for us to get to know each other. My name is William. And yours?"
Camilla.
The woman smiled. "Nice to meet you. Where are you coming from so late?" the man asked.
From work. I did additional lessons.
"Are you a teacher?"
Yes.
The woman smiled. William was constantly smiling and joking. Camilla laughed and did not notice at all that it was already dark outside. He paid the bill and walked her home. Camilla hadn't been this happy in a long time. For many years, she simply did not walk down the street. She constantly sat at home, and now she was having such a walk, accompanied by such an interesting man. Camilla was over the moon. She came to her apartment that the sports school rented for them. It was very quiet outside. Dylan was returning from the competition 3 days later. When he wasn't there, Camilla didn't cook anything at all. She had no one to do it for. She showered and lay down on the bed. She had to go back to work tomorrow. The night flew by very quickly. Although Camilla loved her job, she was a little uncomfortable in her new place, and she had no one to talk to at all. William called her at the end of her working hours and invited her to the cinema. In the evening, they went to the cinema. It was an unforgettable evening. Camilla felt like a teenage girl in love when she was near him. She wanted to sing. She told him about her ex-husband and her son. They talked about everything. It seemed that they had known each other all their lives. "I also have a daughter from my first marriage. She is now in 8th grade.
From your first marriage? So there were more?
The woman laughed. "There were, and there will be," William added and also laughed.
If not for my Dylan, I probably would have stayed in the village, gone to work, and counted pennies. This is all my son's achievements. He dreams of becoming a football player.
Dreams should come true. William understood how hard it was for Camilla before. She raised the child alone. He tried to cheer her up.
So now you're not married?
Camilla asked. "Now I am free, but I think I will marry again soon."
Good for you. I haven't been married, although I will soon be very old.
She decided to hide her age. "Well, you still have time." William and Camilla became very close friends, but he did not let her get close. She could not understand what was the matter, but could not ask directly. They often met, and sometimes he stayed with her when her son was not home. They were very good together. Once she saw William at a parent-teacher meeting at school. He was not alone. He had a beautiful woman and a girl with him. Camilla realized that the man was simply deceiving her. Without knowing it, she had become a mistress while he was happily married. She looked at them from afar, and inside her, everything was shrinking with anger.
Why did he say those beautiful words to me if he was married?
Camilla muttered under her breath. She ran into the teacher's room and tears fell from her eyes. She saw how happy William was with another woman. Sure, she was no match for him, The woman who was next to William was incredibly beautiful, and Camilla never considered herself beautiful. She constantly thought she was not as attractive as everyone else. After what she saw, she decided that she would never speak to William again. She stopped answering his calls and completely immersed herself in other stuff. One summer, Camilla and Dylan went on vacation. He was making good money. They no longer counted pennies and didn't have to think about what would happen tomorrow. A new life began for them. Dylan grew up and already played in a famous football team. He made good money and always aspired to get into the national team. But so far, his dream has not come true. Camilla was very proud of her son. They were able to buy their own apartment with plenty of space. Dylan spent a lot of time training, and there was no time left for personal life. One day, he met a fan who never missed a match. It was love at first sight. Now Dylan was either in training or hanging out with Mary. Camilla really liked her son's girlfriend. She was still alone, and she felt like she didn't need anyone until she met William again. This happened by accident. The Capitol hosted a match between two huge football clubs. As it turned out, William was a fan of the club where Camilla's son played. He immediately noticed her and approached.
Camilla, is that you?
Yes.
How many years have passed since our last meeting?
About 8 years, probably.
Camilla answered. You've changed a lot. Why did you stop talking to me? What have I done wrong?
I don't remember.
Don't lie to me, Camilla. You know everything, and you remember it well.
Well, I saw you at school with your wife and daughter. You lied to me that you were divorced. You looked so happy.
Camilla, it was my ex-wife and my daughter. My daughter liked it when we went to parent-teacher meetings together. That's all. How could you think that I was on you? I'm not like that.
Yeah, sure you're not.
Camilla, if you had told me then why you were offended, I would have explained everything, and we could be happy. You didn't even let me explain. He got happy.
Don't yell at me. The game will begin soon. My son Dylan's playing.
Dylan Mitchell is your son?
Yes, he's my son.
He's good. My favorite player.
William sat next to Camilla and they started watching the game. His hand slid over hers. Camilla realized that the old feelings had not gone away, and right now they were flaring up with renewed vigor. They started talking again, but now there was no misunderstanding between them. Soon, Camilla introduced William to Dylan. She worried about what her son would say, but Dylan really liked the man, and he made it clear to his mother that she needed to hold on to him. A year later, Camilla moved in with William and they got married. Although it was so late, Camilla still got married. One day, Dylan told his mom, "Mom, I have a vacation in a week. I want to go to my hometown. I miss everyone so much. I wonder how Mervyn and others are doing."
But so many years have passed. You may not find anyone there.
I'll go anyway. I feel like I have to. After all, it's thanks to Mervyn's mother that I ended up here. But they didn't even take her son into the team.
Of course, son. If your intuition tells you, then you should go and see everyone. You have become a big person. Buy gifts for everyone and go there.
Then came the long-awaited vacation. By this time, instead of the sea, Dylan went to his hometown. He hasn't been there in a very long time. Going there by car, Dylan was pleasantly surprised that during this time, his beloved town has blossomed. It became more beautiful than it was when they lived there. The first thing Dylan did was go to Mervyn's. He really wanted to see him, as well as his mother, who once changed his life. The guy drove up to Mervyn's house. He didn't know if he lived there now or had moved somewhere long ago. On the way, he bought a luxurious bouquet for Mervyn's mother. He was already on the threshold ringing the doorbell. A woman opened the door. She was in a wheelchair. He recognized her eyes. It was Ruth Harrell.
"Hello, who are you looking for?"
"Mrs. Harrell, it's me, Dylan."
"Who's Dylan?"
"You bought me a uniform when your son and I played football together, remember?"
"Dylan? Is that you? Come on."
"Where's Mervyn? I want to see him. I miss him terribly."
You don't know anything."
"What's happened?"
"Mervyn's gone. He's dead,"
the woman answered. "How?" He did not expect to hear that.
"I'll tell you everything, but first, give me those pills from up there."
Dylan quickly brought the pills and sat down on the couch. Mrs. Harrell began telling her sad story.
"It happened 5 years ago. Mervyn had already come home from the army. He worked as a truck driver. traveled very far and for a very long time, and I stayed at home and wait for him, and so it was all the same. Then we bought a cottage where I spent all weekends. One time, he came for me when it was terribly icy on the street. I told him to come later because the road was bad, but he didn't want to listen to me. We left the village but didn't get very far. A large car pulled up towards us. He tried to avoid the collision and turned his side of the car. He died on the spot, and I became disabled. That's how my son died.
She began to cry. Dylan was very sorry for her. She sat in a wheelchair and was so helpless. He got teary. What did the doctor say? Will you be able to walk?
No, or maybe I could, but the surgery is very expensive. I don't have that kind of money and never will.
I'll help you.
No, I didn't ask for help.
Mrs. Harrell refused to accept help. And where is Mervyn buried? I have to visit him.
I would also like to get there, but it is impossible in a wheelchair.
So, we're going there now. I'm driving you.
Will you carry me in your arms?
I will if I have to. You are the best woman I have ever met. After all, it was you who changed my destiny. Remember, they took me to the national team? And now I play for a famous football club. The woman smiled and began to quickly move around the room, trying to find everything that she wanted to take with her. Dylan picked her up and carried her to the car. They went to the cemetery. Mervyn's grave was quite unkept. It was clear that no one came here. Dylan put Mrs. Harrell on the bench and started removing the weeds that were destroying the gravestone.
Son, we're here. Look, this is your friend Dylan. He came to see you. Do you remember how you waited for him? Mervyn, I couldn't come to you earlier. You know I'm disabled. The doctors never fixed me. You should have turned this damn steering wheel the other way, so that I would be hit. You would be alive now.
The woman started crying. Stop talking like that, Mrs. Harrell. He wanted you to live, and now you regret it. Dylan tried to calm her down. They stayed near the grave for about 2 hours and then drove back. Dylan thought Mervyn acted like a real man all the way. Too bad it happened so early. He was very sorry that his friend was no longer there. The last time they saw each other at that match, he did not expect that fate would be so bad for him. He helped Mrs. Harrell into the house and said that he would come to see her tomorrow. The next day, he kept his promise. He spent his entire vacation with Mervyn's mother. While she was in the apartment, he constantly looked at the photographs and one day came across the woman's medical record. He photographed her, and when the vacation was over and he returned to the capital, the first thing he did was go to the famous clinic and show the doctor the photos of Mrs. Harrell's medical records and tests. Well, what can I say? She will walk if she has spinal surgery. Schedule it as soon as possible. The surgery is very expensive. She's not your relative, right? No, but I'll give everything I have for this woman to be treated. A week later, Dylan went back to his hometown. She knew that Mrs. Harrell would not go because she did not want help, but he also knew that she couldn't run away from him. He entered her apartment and said, "Pack up. We're going to the capital for your surgery." "I'm not going anywhere." "I knew it, so you have half an hour to get ready. If you don't take anything with you, then we will go light and buy everything there." The woman defiantly sat up on the couch for half an hour, making it clear that she would not go anywhere. Then Dylan picked her up and carried her to the car. "Put me back. I don't want anything. No." "Mrs. Harrell, you have changed my destiny, and I will change yours." So they went to the capital. All the way the woman cursed and lamented. She calmed down only when they came to the capital. Dylan asked her if she wanted anything, but she remained silent. She showed with all her appearance that she was offended. "Okay, then I'll buy everything myself. Mom will help me." Mrs. Harrell looked at Dylan and said nothing. He left. He bought everything she needed. His mother was happily helping him. She couldn't be happier that her son had become such a person. The next evening, they went to see Mrs. Harrell's. She was lying in a hospital bed. Doctors were spinning around her. She was being prepared for the surgery. "Dylan, thank you," she said suddenly. "Thank you. You have changed my life." "I never expected such a big thank you from you." "Thank you, boy. Thank you a lot." The surgery was successful, and after a year of rehabilitation, Mrs. Harrell was able to walk. She now lived in the capital, treated Dylan like her own son, and was very proud that her son had such a friend. A woman gave a small gift to a child from a poor family, and many years later, a millionaire knocked on her door.